Do I blur the background?
It's okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to iExamB. And today we have with us Dr. Sanjeev Sharma once again sharing his thoughts related to your preparation of NHB. Let me briefly introduce Sir. Sir has been former executive director with NHB, and he's also served as a regional director and CGM at RBI. And Sir has been mentoring a lot of candidates, students for various exams. He's also visiting faculty with IIMA and IIM Lucknow, and an expert in the banking financial space and communications, and a great mentor for a lot of young aspirants. So a warm welcome to you, sir. Thank you once again for taking out time to share your thoughts and your guidance for the students today.
Thank you, Prachi, so much for this um, nice and warm introduction. And hello, everyone. Welcome to our show, and I hope you all find it very meaningful and interesting.
Yes, absolutely. So, sir, today we, talking about NHB per se, and you have, worked there. So, we felt you could give a lot of guidance and insights into the careers at NHB. And NHB recruits at the assistant manager level. This year also they're doing so. And as of now, students are preparing for their interview, the last phase of their selection, which is very, very important. You know how critical it can be to the overall selection. So before I start into how one can actually go ahead with their interview, what if we talk about the career at NHB and how one can actually have a satisfying career at NHB?
Well, to begin with, let's understand the organizational structure of NHB. See, unlike banks, where there are a number of people employed, and you have a large section of officers and class 3 and class 4, NHB is a very, very, what I would say, a modern kind of a organization where it's typically officer oriented.
Yeah.
So we only have officers, and the rest of the staff that you have in NHB. It could be the assistants and the service staff. They are all on contract.
Okay.
Therefore, what I'm trying to say is, so it's a lean organization, not a mean organization. It's a lean organization. About 150 people at best it has. Today it may be 150. When I was there, we were about 120.
Okay. Okay.
So what happens is that the onus of responsibility and accountability becomes very imperative for on the officers. So even assistant managers, they must ensure that whatever cases they are handling, whatever cases they are putting up, if they want to build a career in the organization, they have to give the full. You cannot be casual in such organizations because it's a small organization and that's the
Mhm.
so your seniors are dependent on you for inputs.
Right.
You want to make a good career, and there's a lot of scope. Yes, it's a triangle is little. The base is not as broad as it would be in a regulatory body or in a commercial bank. But then you stand out, you shine, you rise.
Right. So, like when you say it's a lean organization, and because you are reporting and giving inputs, so a lot of time, students have this aspiration that they want to work with the regulatory body, institute, because so that they can be part of the policy making, or they can be a part of the overall. They can feel that their contribution is there. So, I think that ways this could be a good place where you're giving inputs and you can see those inputs going to some direction.
You use inputs here. Obviously, now that the regulatory aspect from NHB has been taken away, and RBI is regulating the housing space. So policy inputs may not be there. But yes, certainly your inputs in project finance, for example,
Right, right.
department, or in just finance department,
Mhm,
or
mhm,
even in treasury management,
mhm,
or supervision, for example. It's core to NHB. So
mhm.
your inputs, your critical thinking, your analytical mind, your application of your intellect, because you're going to be supervising housing finance companies.
Yeah,
Very hot space right now.
right. So when you bring out the supervising thing, Forgive me if it's a too naive a question. But for the benefit of students, when we say the regulation has been taken off NHB's shoulder and they are supervising, what does difference that makes if we are making a career?
Our aspirants normally have this feeling that they would like to work for a regulatory body. So till the other day, it was a regulatory body. It was a supervisory and regulatory body. So there is a little element of you feel good that you are working for a regulator. But other than that part, see, supervision is equally important. If not, I would say that it's good that when you have only regulation with you, you are going to concentrate better. So
Mhm.
your role now is not to make policy, but to see the execution of the policy
Exactly.
in
Yeah.
this regard, which is now being made by the Reserve Bank. And you would have more interaction with the regulator, for that matter.
Right.
So there would be much to learn
Right.
uh,
Right.
for, for our assistant managers and then managers and AGMs, our regional managers. So they would be interacting more with the Reserve Bank than they were doing earlier, which I think would be a good idea to be in this kind of an organization. Yes, certainly.
True, true, true. Yeah, we cannot, a policy cannot function without the right execution. So that implementation that is happening from the supervisory aspect is very, very critical
Critic-
for the policy to actually work.
Your supervisory inputs are going to go to the Reserve Bank. They'll help them to make changes in the policies if they wish to, or whatever is. So it's still very good space.
Great, great. Yes. So I'll also like to talk about what came in the budget this year. So there's a new fund that the government is looking to create,
Right,
UIDF.
right.
So we have another supervisor, very strong supervisor, NABARD, which was taking care of the RIDF, the Rural Infrastructure Development Fund. And on similar lines, we are now going to get an Urban Infrastructure Development Fund, which is going to NHB. So, what do you think would be NHB's role? This would be increasing, the responsibilities would be increasing. How do we look at it?
Yes, it's like RIDF is for the Bharat and UIDF would be for India. Let's put
India.
it like this. So infrastructure development is certainly on the upbeat. As you can see, the kind of funds that are being utilized for bridges and roads and expressways and many other infrastructure that you're seeing around. So now that NHB has been given this, responsibility as we can see from the budget, we don't have the details, but the
Mhm.
budget does make it appear like this. So there will be more work and absolutely more accountability, and they would become a part of not just nation building in terms of housing, but also
But
infrastructure.
urban infrastructure, which is so
Yes,
much more important.
so much
We are getting.
and relevant today.
Yes, so actually, from the face of it, on the face of it, it does look like NHP will have much more roles coming
Yes,
up and
right, you're right.
more and more responsibilities coming up.
So our students, for example, those who are appearing, our aspirants appearing for the interview, now that the interviews are around the corner, I would suggest that they should actually go through the budget and read this para nice. They should
Yeah.
read. No, let me be clear here, since we are talking about the interview.
Yes.
What
Yes.
I find is that most of the time when we ask questions to the students, and they'll say, I read it somewhere, or I've read it, but I've forgotten it. Now, the problem is this: don't read for the interview, you have to imbibe. So, I always tell my students that turn into a cow, go on reading.
जुगाली जुगाली करो उसका.
Exactly. Read something and just don't read it, but absorb it within you.
Absorb it.
So, it should be, in your mind, you're asking questions. Why has this fund come to NHB, for example? What will NHB do with it? What kind of infrastructure can it work on? So these things you may not get written answers, so they may not be exact response. Your responses may not be correct, but it is the way and the rationale that you give in your answer that, in my view, if NHB has been given this responsibility, then this fund for for urban infrastructure, and where it could be used, give some examples that these are the areas where India is needing you know,
Right. Right. Right.
social infrastructure or in green, no, green energy, energy already is there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the student should just not read, but must imbibe within themselves and absorb it, so that like a cow they are able to take it out, ruminate, absorb, and then it's in your mind. Otherwise,
Yes.
it stays on your lips and you forget it when the question is asked in the interview, and you get nervous. And when you get nervous, then the next question also you falter.
Right, right.
Yeah,
That's very
yeah, guys, please take care of this part.
right.
Don't.
So you started with the interview aspect, and I like to continue with that because, like I told you, कि NHB अभी the recruitment cycle. I'll move a little to the Hindi, sir,
Yes,
for benefit of some students. Yeah.
yes, बहुत लोग
तो
हिंदी में सुनना
हाँ
चाहेंगे.
जी, तो यहाँ पर जैसे स्टूडेंट्स अभी इंटरव्यू स्टेज पे हैं, एंड जस्ट टू लेट ऑल द स्टूडेंट्स नो, डॉक्टर शर्मा हैज बी agreed to be a part of the panel with iExamB for mock interviews for NHB. So students who will be enrolling will be able to get a good feel of NHB का interview with Dr. Sharma. So सर, अगर हम यहाँ पे इंटरव्यू की प्रिपरेशन जैसे बात करें, एक क्वेश्चन स्टूडेंट्स को कई बार कंफ्यूज करता है कि ऑल्दो उनको चॉइस दी जाती है इंग्लिश या हिंदी में इंटरव्यू देने की,
हम्म.
बट क्या उनको रियलिटी में ये चॉइस ऑप्ट करनी चाहिए, गोइंग फॉर हिंदी या इंग्लिश, कोई मैटर करता है किस में हम इंटरव्यू दे रहे हैं?
वेरी बहुत ही आपका जो प्रश्न है बिल्कुल क्या बोलते हैं बैंग ऑन है, बिकॉज ये हमने नोटिस करा है कि कितने कैंडिडेट्स अंग्रेजी में बोलने की कोशिश करते हैं, और क्योंकि वो सोचते हिंदी में है और उसको फिर अंग्रेजी में बोलने की कोशिश करते हैं, तो उनकी हॉल्टिंग कम्युनिकेशन हो जाती है, या जो आइडिया उनके पास एक्सप्रेस करने को होता है वो ठीक से बोल नहीं पाते. जब हम उनको मौका देते हैं आप हिंदी में बोलना चाहेंगे, दे आर वेरी गुड एट. So this is the public sector, organization. आप लोग बिना झिझक के एकदम, अगर आपको लगता है कि आप हिंदी में अच्छा बोल सकते हैं, तो आप हिंदी में ही अपनी मीडियम जो है उसको आप हिंदी दीजिए. अगर आपने फॉर्म भर दिया है और उसमें अंग्रेजी लिख भी दिया है, डजंट मैटर. यू कैन स्टिल गो टू द बोर्ड बिफोर द इंटरव्यू एंड जस्ट मेक अ स्मॉल रिक्वेस्ट. इतनी अंग्रेजी सबको आती है कि हम लोग 2-3 सेंटेंस तो बोल ही सकते हैं कि
राइट.
सर आई हैव अ स्मॉल रिक्वेस्ट टू मेक, विद योर परमिशन आई वुड लाइक टू टेक द इंटरव्यू इन हिंदी. ठीक है, लेकिन इसमें प्राची मैम एक बात बच्चों को ध्यान रखनी पड़ेगी.
यस.
ये जो इंग्लिश में होता है ना, हम लोग कई आज जैसे अब हम लोग बात करते हैं इधर इनफॉर्मल, वो एक चीज अलग है. वो हमारा ड्राइंग रूम की या इनफॉर्मल टॉक में हम लोग मिक्स कर लेते हैं भाषा को, थोड़ा हिंदी थोड़ा अंग्रेजी, हम इंग्लिश में सेंटेंस शुरू करके हिंदी में खत्म कर देते हैं, या हिंदी में बोल के अंग्रेजी में. इंटरव्यू में आप ये सोच लीजिए कि आप एक फॉर्मल फोरम पे के सामने बैठे हुए हैं एंड दे आर लुकिंग एट योर कम्युनिकेशन एबिलिटी आल्सो. तो इसलिए आप अगर हिंदी चुना है, तो आप जहाँ तक टेक्निकल वर्ड्स छोड़कर, टेक्निकल वर्ड्स होते हैं कई बार
राइट.
हमको टेक्निकल वर्ड्स नहीं आते, कोई बात नहीं. टेक्निकल शब्दों के लिए आप हिंदी का अंग्रेजी का इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं. एनएचबी को आप एनएचबी ही बोलेंगे, आरबीआई को आप आरबीआई बोलेंगे, या कोई ऐसे यूडीआईएफ फंड है या कोई शब्दों में बोलेंगे. बट व्हाट यू मस्ट अंडरस्टैंड इज दैट पिक अप वन लैंग्वेज एंड ट्राई टू मास्टर दैट. तो उससे आपका जो है थोड़ा फॉर्मल लगता है, कि क्योंकि जो बच्चे अंग्रेजी में बोलते हैं, फिर वो केवल अंग्रेजी में ही बोलते हैं. तो इसलिए हम चाहते हैं कि जो हमारे बच्चे हिंदी में बोलना चाहते हैं, वो लोग हम ये नहीं कह रहे हैं कि आप बिल्कुल ऑफिशियल लैंग्वेज वाली हिंदी बोलिए. आप बोलिए जैसे आप बोलचाल में की भाषा है, लेकिन फॉर्मल स्ट्रक्चर
में. तो सर ने वो भी क्लैरिफाई कर दिया. मैं वही पूछना भी चाह रही थी कि जरूरी है क्या कि टेक्निकल वर्ड्स भी बोले, तो वो ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है. टेक्निकल वर्ड्स को हम इंग्लिश में यूज कर सकते हैं, बट जो हम सेंटेंसेस बना रहे हैं वो ग्रामेटिकली करेक्ट करके हम प्रॉपर्ली उसको हिंदी में बोले, तो दैट इज.
आप हिंदी में सोच रहे हैं तो आप हिंदी में उसको आराम से बोल सकते हैं.
यस.
लेकिन अगर आप पहले अंग्रेजी में सोचेंगे, उसको आप हिंदी में ट्रांसलेट करेंगे, वो होती है ये हम लोग के साथ दिक्कत, क्योंकि जो हम लोग द्विभाषी लोग होते हैं, तो हम लोग का घर की बोलचाल की भाषा हिंदी या रीजनल लैंग्वेज होती है, जरूरी नहीं हिंदी ही हो. हम उड़िया बोल सकते हैं घर में, हम मराठी बोलते हैं. जब इंग्लिश बोलने लगते हैं तो हम उसको पहले कई बार सेंटेंस को इंग्लिश में फ्रेज करते हैं.
राइट.
तो उसमें हमारा एक गैप आ जाता है, उसमें कम्युनिकेशन आप ठीक से एक्सप्रेस नहीं कर पाते.
So, sir, if I continue on this communication aspect, so कई बार हमें लगता है the communication is only restricted to the language, the English or the Hindi language. How much role does your body language or your non-verbal communication play a role in the interview?
That's another good point. क्योंकि आपकी जो ये कम्युनिकेशन है, इसके two sides of the coin, the verbal and the non-verbal.
Non-work.
हमने वर्बल की बात तो कर ली, लेकिन नॉन वर्बल उतनी ही जरूरी है कि आप जो बैठते हैं तो कहीं आप यहाँ ऊँग कर रहे हैं या सर खुजला रहे हैं या अपनी टाई को एडजस्ट कर रहे हैं या घड़ी को देख रहे हैं या हाथों को आप ऐसे-ऐसे कर रहे हैं, चाहे हाथ पकड़े हों आपने ऐसे। हम लोग आपस में बात कर रहे हैं, वी आर यूजिंग आवर हैंड्स राइट नाउ। इट इज़ वेरी
Yes.
नेचुरल, बट इन द इंटरव्यू वी मस्ट मिनिमाइज़ यूज़ ऑफ हैंड। वी शुड यूज़ इट। जहाँ हमको लगता है कि हम कुछ चीज़ एम्फसाइज़ कर रहे हैं, तो इंस्टिंक्टिवली हाथ उठ जाता है, राइट?
Right.
आप देखिए क्लासिकल सिंगर्स होते हैं या वो जब गाते हैं तो जिस तरफ सुर जाता है और स्वर जाता है उधर ही उतराव-चढ़ाव में वैसे हाथ हो जाता है, दैट्स नेचुरल। बट बी कॉन्शियस ऑफ योर बॉडी एंड some people tend to smile a lot.
Okay.
So be careful there. It's good to smile once in a while. It's always it breaks the ice. Sometimes आपको कुछ आंसर नहीं आया तो आपने मुस्कुरा दिया तो चलो वो हो गया, हमको समझ में आ गई कि आप कंफर्टेबल नहीं है इसमें। लेकिन कई ऐसे बच्चे होते हैं या बच्चियां होती हैं, वो बहुत मुस्कुराती हैं, तो वो थोड़ा-सा कैजुअल बन जाता है,
Right.
राइट? और अपनी बॉडी लैंग्वेज, बॉडी को भी स्ट्रेट रखिए।
Right.
दूसरी चीज़ है हम लोग जो हैं वी टेंड टू लुक अप इन द एयर एंड समटाइम्स अगर कुछ आपको उत्तर नहीं आ रहा है, तो आप सोचने के लिए ऐसे कुछ देखते हैं, जैसे कि हाँ, नहीं वो नहीं करिए आप। और अगर आपको लगता है कि आपको आंसर नहीं मिल रहा है, तो आप समय माँग सकते हैं कि मुझे 10 सेकंड 15 सेकंड दीजिए ज़रा मैं अपने थॉट्स को गैदर कर लूँ।
Okay. Okay. So one more query students keep asking about, do panel members know their written exams mark while taking the interview? I'm asking head on. A lot of questions like this
Yes.
students ask.
No, let me assure you, these are two separate things. आपने जो रिटन एग्ज़ाम दिया है, उसमें आपको जो मार्क्स आए हैं, वो बायस नहीं करेंगे आपके पैनलिस्ट को। क्योंकि क्या होता है कि अगर हमारे पास वो मार्क्स होंगे, तो हम बायस हो जाते हैं कि भाई ऑलरेडी अरे ये तो बहुत ब्रिलियंट है, इसके तो बहुत अच्छे नंबर आए हैं। तो वही चीज़ हमको नहीं देखनी ना, इंटरव्यू हम कुछ और देख रहे हैं। आपने जो
As an independent view, you want to take in.
है, आपका बोलचाल कैसा है, आपकी थिंकिंग कैसी है, आपकी एनालिटिकल एबिलिटी है कि नहीं है। तो इसलिए वो मार्क्स नहीं होते हैं आपके पास।
Right. So you can rest assured, I think, put your best foot forward in your interview without worrying how you have done your exam. You've reached this stage, I think, and you should try to give your best at this stage also, like you did for your written exam. So that's how you should go about it. So what should they be preparing and reading? You did mention about the budget aspect. Apart from that, what else can students prepare and learn for their NHB interview?
Right. So, they must, I would say that they should lay emphasis on three aspects. So it's, you can divide into three quarters. One is yourself. Know yourself.
Know yourself.
अपने
Okay.
बारे में आप जानिए। फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन नॉर्मली आइस ब्रेकिंग के लिए होता है। उसमें कुछ ज़्यादा होता नहीं है, लेकिन आपको कंफर्टेबल बनाने के लिए पूछा जाता है। अपने बारे में बताइए। So use that is, like the ball is in your court. अब आपको सिक्सर मारना है उसपे। Don't let go of that opportunity. अक्सर बच्चे वही बोलते हैं जो उनके बायोडेटा में लिखा होता है। पर हम ये मौका आपको मिला है कि कई बारी आपने कॉलम में कुछ लिखना भूल गए हैं अपने बारे में। आपके कुछ इंटरेस्ट हो सकते हैं। You may have some hobbies, you may have interests, you like to read, you like to see. Bring it, or you've written some paper somewhere, or you participated, something you want to talk about which you think will lead to further questions from there. Otherwise, if you simply like, I remember one candidate, I asked him, tell me about yourself. In 3 words, he finished it off. I studied in school, college, and I got a job here, and now I'm preparing for exams. So I told him, आपने 25 साल की अपनी जिंदगी को 3 सेंटेंस में भी नहीं पूरा करा. So don't do that. Make use of that. So know yourself. And know yourself means जो आपने अपना बायोडेटा फॉर्म में लिखा है, वो सोचिए कि वो आपकी जन्म पत्री है. मोस्ट क्वेश्चंस जो शुरू में आएंगे वो वहीं से ही आते हैं. तो आपने क्या क्वालिफिकेशंस हैं, आपने बीटेक करा है, कि आपने इकोनॉमिक्स करा है, कि आपने एग्रीकल्चर करा है। तो पीपल द पैनलिस्ट इफ दे हैव अ सिमिलर बैकग्राउंड, वहाँ से 1-2 क्वेश्चन पूछ लेते हैं। आईटी करा है तो भाई आईटी के बारे में आजकल क्या चल रहा है? बी प्रिपेयर्ड विद कंटेम्परेरी यूज़ ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी,
Contemporary.
facts,
Yeah.
very important. So it may not be sometimes related, but आप ये जो सेंट्रल बैंकिंग करेंसी क्या है वो
CBDC.
सीबीडीसी है
Yeah.
या क्रिप्टोस हैं, इनके बारे में ब्लॉकचेन टेक्नोलॉजी क्या है, कई बार ये क्वेश्चन पूछ लेते हैं। सिंपल, these are all general knowledge questions. So
Right. Right.
biodata is and yourself is the first thing that you must concentrate on. नंबर 2, आप किस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के लिए इंटरव्यू दे रहे हैं, उसके बारे में आपको थोड़ा थोड़ा मतलब ज्ञानवर्धन होना चाहिए उसके में। ये नहीं कि उसका चेयरमैन कौन है तो आपको चेयरमैन का नाम नहीं मालूम है। कई बार या बच्चे लोग चेयरमैन का नाम बता देंगे तो अगर वो श्री नहीं लगाना भूल जाते हैं, श्रीमती या डॉक्टर, व्हाटएवर द प्रीफिक्स दैट शुड बी।
Some salutation, Mr. and all, right? They're respectable people, so we should always take their name with a salutation there.
So know about the organizational structure, कि कौन उसके की पोजीशंस कौन है, उनका बैकग्राउंड क्या है,
Right.
कितने डिपार्टमेंट्स हैं वहाँ पर, डिपार्टमेंट की क्या फंक्शनिंग है। बिकॉज़ एक बार क्वेश्चन पूछते हैं, आप अगर हम आपको चुन लें तो आप किस विभाग में कार्य करना चाहेंगे?
That's a tricky question, but taking a name can also be difficult. They saying, why are you choosing? You are a generalist.
It is a very tricky question, and my suggestion is never choose one department and say I want to work here. So if you have, for example, NHB, आप कहाँ पे करना चाहते हैं supervision, then be prepared. Be prepared for questions on supervision, right? So I want to do project finance. आपका कुछ बैकग्राउंड है क्या उसमें, तो आप बोल सकते हैं। नहीं तो बेस्ट, तो सबसे बेहतर आंसर तो ये है कि इस समय तो मैं खुशी से कोई भी डिपार्टमेंट में काम कर लूँगा। मुझे सीखना है अभी। अभी जो भी मैंने पढ़ा है एनएचबी के बारे में, वो केवल किताबों में पढ़ा है। अब मुझे एक्सपीरियंस मिलेगा, तो मैं सर किसी भी डिपार्टमेंट में काम करने को तैयार हूँ।
Right.
On these lines.
Right.
Otherwise, you fall in your own trap. If you say, I want to work in supervision, I ask you 2 questions on supervision, and there
And we
you are.
don't know. Then we don't
I
know.
say, okay, so which section, under which section NHB has got powers to supervise? There you are. You may not even have, try to read that portion. So if you really want to prepare one department, उसको पढ़ लीजिए, उसके बारे में थोड़ा ध्यान से जो उसका facts and figures है वो याद रखिए.
Right.
And don't ogle them out. See, this is another problem when we ask questions. तो हमारे जो aspirants होते हैं, वो या तो रटा हुआ चीज को जैसे पढ़ा है, हम पूछ रहे हैं विजन क्या है, तो विजन वो बैटम बताती है मुझको। नहीं, आप विजन को पढ़े हैं, तो अब मुझे समझाइए कि विजन क्या है वो।
Right.
Use the right words.
So ultimately, they're looking at how analytical your mind is, or do you have a thinking ability,
Yes,
or not.
just
So
have to understood it.
yeah, so even the technical answers from your perspective and your understanding is much more important, right?
Right.
So I come to another aspect which I come across. Yeah, sorry.
The third part,
Yes, sorry, yes.
So know yourself, know your
The organization.
Third is know the world around you.
Know the world.
You see, what's happening in and around you. Normal things, like budget, आपने बोला अभी,
Yes.
Budget, everybody's talking about budget, economics, budget expectations.
Yes.
1 minute. I don't know what's happened.
We can hear you, sir, but
Can you see me? No.
Not see you, but we can hear you.
Okay. Just 1 second, please.
Yes.
Right. So I go on talking till I come back on the screen.
Sure.
The third is know your environment, know what's happening around you. The latest, they are going to ask you history and all, when was NHB's, like people sometimes come up with, the committee was formed. Just be familiar with the need. Your answer should come not as a historical fact, but the need for institutional credit for housing sector.
Right.
And then you can say, so and so Rangarajan committee was there and they had given suggestion. So make it a narrative. Don't make it a historical path. That doesn't work, right? and don't give one-line answers.
One liner.
हम
So there
वाइवा
should be a balance, not an essay and not a one liner also. Yeah, so we
हम वही वाइवा से तो नहीं ले रहे हैं कि हमने एक क्वेश्चन पूछा, आपने एक जवाब दिया. So try to answer nicely in a rounded fashion.
So I'll come to what I was trying to ask that time. A lot of students, of course, from the previous selection cycle and even the current one, they tend to share transcripts or how their experience had been of the actual interview. How useful is that for students to prepare whose interview is about to happen?
Okay. So, well, it makes very little sense to go by transcripts of previous year's interviews because the questions are nobody prepares questions per se. You may have a handful of questions in your mind, what you know, what you have read. Uh, Most of the questions will come from what you say. Okay.
Right.
So what they asked last year may not be repeated this year, so that we can ignore. What they're asking now, yes, to an extent, it gives you a trend, but it doesn't mean you will be asked the same questions at the same time. So we can say that yeah, they're asking similar questions. They're not asking on budget. They're not asking on economic survey. They're not. People come and give you the feedback, right?
Yeah.
But nothing prevents me on being on the panel suddenly say, okay, let's talk about the budget. So
Right.
just because they are not asking about the budget doesn't mean you should not prepare for the budget because that is the latest.
We
I
never know when they change that trend
Yes,
and
I'll
pattern.
give you a small anecdote on this. When I was appearing for my grade F interview, and I was number 23, I think, on the waiting in the list.
Okay.
Everybody who came out and everybody would ask, "What questions is the governor asking?" Oh, governor is asking this question. So question he was asking everyone. You know. So I also had prepared similarly. I was sitting
Yeah.
I prepared my answer to that response. When my turn came, you know what he said? He said, I've been asking one question to everyone so far, and I'm sure you know about it. So I'm not asking you that question.
So you were the one when they decided to change the question.
So that's the point I'm trying to make that you never know when they may change. So only a trend you can make out from the trend. Yeah, this is the kind of they're not. It's a soft board. That is there. The board is very and most. Let me tell you, most boards are not hawks and falcons sitting there. They're nice and soft people. They try to help students. So we give you pointers. Sometimes when you're not able to answer, we give you some.
Hints here and
Hints.
there. Yeah.
Give you some small bits. We are expecting you to connect those dots and come up with an answer. If you can join the dots.
True. True. That's very helpful, sir. I'll take up one last question that's come in the chat from a student. They want to know about the promotional aspects of an assistant manager at NHB.
या पहले नौकरी तो करो फिर प्रमोशन की बात करेंगे but yes everybody who looks for a career looks for an organization where you have good prospects of rising, right? So now
Yes.
so while NHB gives you ample opportunities to rise, but please remember that it all as I said in the beginning, आपको चमकना है पहले से अगर आपको राइज करना है तो अगर आप ऑल्सो रैन बन के रहेंगे वहां पे तो 150 लोगों की ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में आपको बहुत लोग पीछे छोड़ के जा सकते हैं और आजकल ट्रेंड क्या हो गई है लैटरल एंट्री की भी एट लेवल एट एजीएम लेवल वो लैटरल एंट्री से बाहर से रिक्रूटमेंट होती है सो प्रमोशन के चांसेस हैं अच्छे होते हैं बिकॉज स्केल है इनका अच्छा स्केल वो है द कमर्शियल बैंक स्केल 1 स्केल 2 स्केल 3 स्केल 4 स्केल 5 ऐसे चलता है वो और मैंने सुना था अभी के कई राज्यों में लोग ऑफिस भी खोलने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं जमीन जैसे कि छत्तीसगढ़ में ही ले रहे हैं पटना में भी है और अभी तो चंडीगढ़ में भी खोलने की वो बात चल रही थी मैंने सुना है ये बातें
ओके
मे बी या सो इट्स गोइंग टू एक्सपैंड
It's going to expand. Looks like.
हम बोल रहे हैं कि हम थे वहां पे पहले 80 थे हमारे होते होते 120 हो गए तो अब 150 हुए हैं तो धीमे धीमे करके रिक्वायरमेंट हाउसिंग सेक्टर ऐसा है जो कि हमारे सरकार के हॉराइजन पे प्रोमिनेंट है।
प्रोमिनेंट है, हाँ, काफी सालों से है, मतलब
रूरल हाउसिंग है, अर्बन हाउसिंग है, और ये
हाँ।
कभी खत्म नहीं होगा, क्योंकि जो पीएमएवाई थी
हम्म।
वो 22-23 तक हुई थी, लेकिन वो चलती जाएगी इसका।
हाँ, वो और उन्होंने अब तो एक्सटेंड 2 साल के लिए तो कर ही दी है, 24 तक के लिए, एंड आगे का भी कुछ कह नहीं सकते हैं ये, क्योंकि रिक्वायरमेंट अभी पूरी तो नहीं हुई है हाउसिंग की हमारी कंट्री में। सो मेक सेंस, मेक
और
सेंस।
जब तक ये होगी तो एक नई जनरेशन आ जाती है जिसको घरों की ज़रूरत पड़ेगी,
ट्रू, ट्रू।
राइट?
या। So makes sense, and looks like definitely this is growing. So like you said, 80 से आज की डेट में 160 अगर है तो डबल तो हो ही चुका है, and that's how they keep growing the number of people and the requirement.
The
And
organization, and you have, you work hard and you will shine. But it is competitive. And let me also add here that the age profile of NHB officers is very young.
okay.
Right? Number two, they are all highly qualified. So they have professional degrees. You have chartered accountants, you have engineers, you have people with a PhD, and
Mhm.
so all kinds of MBAs, specialization in finance, specialization in HR,
Right.
company secretaries. So you got to prove yourself. You are competing with the best people there. And आपको अगर organization में रह के अपना थाट जमानी है तो आपको बहुत अच्छा काम करना पड़ेगा. And you have stiff competition.
Right, right. Makes sense. So I'm sure everybody is preparing well for their interview, and we are definitely there to guide you. And thank you, sir, for being on the panel this year again for NHB interviews with us. And we look forward to taking a lot of mock interviews and preparing you for your NHB and interview. Uh, Srijan Lahiri, the point that you have asked, actually, we've been discussing exactly this, what you should be doing at this stage for your interview. So if you have missed this part, you will be able to see the recording. Sir has very nicely briefed what all areas you should be preparing about for your interview process now. So I will like to thank you, sir, for taking out time for so nicely explaining the entire prospects at NHP and also the interview process and how to go about preparation for it. So looking forward to taking a lot of interviews, mock interviews with you, sir,
Thank
this
you
year
so
too.
much. It was a pleasure talking to you and to our audience. Though we can't see them, but yes, I know they're there and asking a lot of questions. So we hope to see them certainly during the mock interviews. Thank you so much. It was my
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.